The cameras flashed like lightning as Evan Cole stepped onto the red carpet, alone, America's golden boy, Hollywood's most eligible bachelor, living a lie that was about to shatter in front of millions. For 3 years, he'd hidden the most important secret of his life: a wife, 2 children, and a love so real it terrified him more than any spotlight ever could. But tonight, as he posed for pictures with his practiced smile, Amara Lewis Cole sat at home watching her husband pretend she didn't exist until she made a decision that would change everything. What happened next would either destroy his carefully crafted image or prove that some truths are worth risking it all. The woman in the simple black dress who crashed his premiere wasn't just any woman, she was the wife he'd been hiding, and she was done being invisible. By morning, the entire world would know the secret that could cost him everything, but might just save the only thing that truly mattered. If you're watching this from your city tonight, drop a comment below and tell me where you're from, because this story of hidden love and public courage is about to unfold, and I want to know where my viewers are joining us for this incredible journey. The morning sun streamed through the kitchen window as Evan Cole knelt on the tile floor, his fingers working carefully to tie Maya's tiny sneakers. The 5-year-old wiggled her foot, making the task harder than it needed to be. "Hold still, sweetheart," he said with a gentle laugh. "I can't tie your shoes if you're dancing, but I'm excited about school today." Maya bounced in her chair. "We're making handprint turkeys." At the counter, Amara Lewis Cole smiled as she packed small containers of goldfish, crackers, and apple slices into lunchboxes. Her dark hands moved with practiced ease, the same hands that had once styled Hollywood's biggest stars before she chose family over fame. Now those hands packed lunches and braided hair and held everything together with quiet strength. 3-year-old Theo sat at the kitchen table, his curly hair still messy from sleep. He pushed his cereal around his bowl with a serious expression. "Mama, I need the green spoon," he announced, as if this was the most important thing in the world. Amara reached into the drawer and handed him his favorite plastic spoon. "Here you go, baby." Evan finished with Maya's shoes and stood, brushing his hands on his jeans. The kitchen felt warm and alive with morning chaos. This was his favorite time of day, before the phone calls and meetings and cameras, before the world demanded pieces of him. Here, he was just daddy and husband. His phone buzzed on the counter, a text from Riley, his publicist. "Walk it solo tonight for clean lines. Trust me." Evan's stomach tightened. The premiere, tonight. His biggest movie yet, the one that could change everything for his career, but it could also change everything for his family. "That about tonight?" Amara asked softly. She always knew. "Yeah." He slipped the phone into his pocket without answering Riley. "Just reminder stuff." Amara nodded, but he saw the flicker in her eyes, the same question that had been hanging between them for months. "When are we telling the world?" she asked, her voice gentle but tired. Evan looked at his children. Maya was now trying to help Theo eat his cereal, getting more on the table than in his mouth. Theo was giggling. They were perfect and innocent, and had no idea their father was living 2 different lives. "After tonight," he said. "Soon." The word "soon" tasted like a promise he wasn't sure he could keep. Amara kissed his cheek as she passed, carrying the lunchboxes to the counter by the door. Her touch was warm and forgiving, like always. She never pushed, never demanded. She just loved him and waited. "Come on, babies," she called to the kids. "Time for school." 20 minutes later, they all stood in the driveway. Evan kissed Maya's forehead, then Theo's curly head. The little boy wrapped his arms around Evan's neck and squeezed tight. "Bye, Daddy. Don't forget bedtime stories tonight." "I'll call you from the car," Evan promised. "We can read together on FaceTime." He kissed Amara last, his lips lingering against hers for just a moment longer than usual. "I love you," he whispered. "I love you too," she whispered back. "Be brave tonight." He wanted to ask what she meant, but Amara was already buckling the kids into their car seats. She gave him one last smile before backing out of the driveway. Evan watched until their car disappeared around the corner. The neighborhood was quiet, normal, safe, everything he wanted to protect. But tonight, he had to choose between protecting it and claiming it. 2 hours later, Amara sat cross-legged on the living room floor, folding tiny t-shirts and matching socks. The morning show played on the television, mostly background noise while she worked through the laundry basket. "And speaking of Hollywood's hottest bachelors," the TV host said with a bright smile, "Evan Cole is definitely having a moment." Amara's hands stilled on a pair of Maya's jeans. The screen filled with a photo of Evan at last month's awards show, looking handsome in his black tuxedo. The picture was perfect. He was smiling, that easy smile that made teenage girls scream and grown women blush. The 31-year-old actor has been making hearts flutter ever since his breakthrough role 3 years ago, the host continued. And with tonight's premiere of his new romantic drama, we're calling him Hollywood's most eligible bachelor. The segment cut to behind-the-scenes footage from Evan's latest movie. There he was, laughing with his co-star Lena Wild during a break between takes. Lena was beautiful and blonde and young. The camera loved her almost as much as it loved Evan. In the clip, Lena playfully adjusted Evan's collar while they rehearsed their lines. It looked intimate. Like they were more than just co-stars. Amara's chest tightened. She knew it was just work. Evan had told her about every scene, every day of filming. But watching it on television, seeing the way the cameras captured their chemistry, she felt like she was looking at a man she didn't know. Her phone buzzed with a text. "This stings," she typed to Evan. His reply came quickly. "It's noise. I'll fix optics after premiere." Optics. The word felt cold and businesslike. She stared at the message for a long moment, then set her phone aside and continued folding clothes. On the TV, they were showing more clips. Evan walking red carpets alone. Evan at parties with beautiful actresses. Evan living a single man's life in public while she stayed home with their children. She understood why. Really, she did. Riley had explained it all in that meeting 2 years ago. Mixed-race couples still made some people uncomfortable. It could hurt Evan's appeal with certain audiences. Better to keep things private until he was established enough that it wouldn't matter. But watching Hollywood call her husband their most eligible bachelor still hurt. Amara finished folding the last shirt and carried the basket upstairs to the kids' rooms. She put away Maya's clothes first, organizing the little dresses by color the way her daughter liked them. Then Theo's room, where she had to step around toy trucks and building blocks. In her own bedroom, she paused at the closet. There, hanging in the back, was a simple black dress she'd bought months ago but never worn. It still had the tags on it. She'd bought it for nights like tonight, for premieres and parties and red carpets, for the life she thought she'd have as Evan's wife. Instead, it hung unworn in a closet while she folded laundry and watched other women hang on her husband's arm. Amara touched the fabric, then let her hand fall. She grabbed a load of Evan's t-shirts from the basket and put them away in his dresser. Maybe tonight would be different. Maybe after this premiere, they could finally stop hiding. Maybe. That afternoon, Evan sat in the back seat of a black town car, heading toward the salon for hair and makeup. Los Angeles traffic crawled around them, but he barely noticed. His mind was on Riley's voice coming through his phone. "The solo walk is important," his publicist was saying. "Clean, simple, focused on the movie. No distractions." "I'm not a distraction," Evan said quietly. "My family isn't a distraction," Riley sighed. "You know that's not what I meant, but we're so close, Ev. This movie could put you in the A-list conversation. We just need to be smart about it." Evan stared out the window at the palm trees and billboards. Every surface in this city seemed designed to sell something. Dreams, fantasies, images that weren't quite real. "What about that segment this morning?" he asked. "The eligible bachelor thing. Great publicity. Shows you're desirable but available. Sells the fantasy." "I'm not available, but your fans don't know that." Riley's voice was patient but firm. "Look, after awards season, we can start shifting the narrative. But right now, we need to focus on the work." The car pulled up to the salon. Through the tinted windows, Evan could see photographers already waiting on the sidewalk. They raised their cameras the moment his car stopped. "Just remember," Riley said as Evan reached for the door handle. "No surprises tonight. Stick to the plan." Evan hung up and slipped his phone into his pocket. No surprises. If only it were that simple. 3 hours later, he was back in the car, this time heading toward the theater. His hair was perfect, his tuxedo fit like a dream, and his face felt tight from all the makeup. He looked like a movie star. He FaceTimed home while the car inched through traffic. "Daddy!" Maya's face filled the screen, gap-toothed and grinning. "You look fancy." "Do I clean up okay?" Evan asked, adjusting his bow tie for her. "You look like a prince," Maya said seriously. "Can I see your tie again?" Evan held the phone back so she could see the whole bow tie. In the background, he could hear Theo demanding his turn. Daddy, I want to see." The 3-year-old's face appeared next to his sister's, both of them crowding the screen. "Hi, buddy. Are you being good for Mama?" "I helped make dinner," Theo announced proudly. "I stirred the pasta." "That's my boy." Evan's chest felt tight with love and guilt. "I'm sorry I'm missing dinner." "It's okay," Maya said. "Mama said we can eat ice cream for dessert since you're at your movie party." "Amara's spoiling you guys," Evan said, but he was smiling. "She deserves to spoil them sometimes," Amara's voice said from off-screen. A moment later, her face appeared behind the kids. She looked tired but beautiful, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. "How are you doing?" she asked, and he could hear the real question underneath. "How are you handling this? Are you okay with walking alone again?" "I'm fine," he said. "Missing you guys already." "We'll be watching," she said softly. "Be careful out there. I love you." "Love you too." The call ended just as the car pulled up to the theater. Outside, Evan could see the red carpet stretching like a bright river between velvet ropes. Hundreds of people lined the barriers, fans holding signs with his name. Photographers clustered behind metal barricades, their cameras ready. The car door opened, and the sound hit him like a wave. Screaming fans, clicking cameras, shouted questions from reporters. This was it, the biggest night of his career so far, and he had to walk it alone. 6 blocks away, Amara sat at her kitchen table, staring at her laptop screen. The live stream of Evan's premiere played in a small window while she paid bills and tried to pretend her heart wasn't breaking a little more each time. The camera showed him smiling and waving to fans by himself. The kids were in bed, the house was quiet, and her husband was living his dream while she watched from home like a stranger. She closed the laptop and walked to her bedroom. The black dress still hung in the closet, price tags dangling from the sleeve, like a reminder of all the events she'd never attended. Amara had met Evan 4 years ago when she was working as a celebrity stylist. He'd been a rising star then, charming and handsome but still humble, still real. They talked between takes about books and travel and dreams that had nothing to do with Hollywood. Their first date was coffee at a tiny cafe in Silver Lake. No cameras, no pressure, just 2 people falling in love. He'd proposed on a beach in Santa Barbara, with no one around but seagulls and crashing waves. It was perfect and private, and theirs. But that was before his career exploded, before the magazine covers and the fan websites and the publicist meetings where they discussed her like she was a problem to be managed. Amara touched the dress one more time, then pulled it from the closet. She was tired of being managed, tired of being hidden, tired of watching her husband's life happen without her. In the bathroom, she applied makeup with steady hands, just enough to look polished but not overdone. She wasn't trying to outshine anyone. She just wanted to exist in her husband's world for one night. The black dress fit perfectly, hitting just below her knees. Simple, elegant, appropriate. She paired it with low heels and small gold earrings. In the mirror, she looked like what she was, a wife getting ready to support her husband at a work event. Amara grabbed her purse and car keys, then checked on the kids one more time. Both were sleeping peacefully in their beds. She texted her neighbor, Carla, who had a key and had agreed to listen for the kids if they woke up. "Heading out for a bit. Kids are asleep. Text if you need anything." Carla's reply came quickly. "Go get your man. I've got everything covered here." Amara smiled. Carla was the only person in their neighborhood who knew the truth about Evan. She'd been babysitting Maya and Theo since they were babies, and she'd never once made Amara feel like she was missing out on anything important. The drive to Hollywood took 25 minutes. Amara parked 3 blocks from the theater and walked, her heels clicking on the sidewalk. With each step, her heart beat a little faster. She wasn't sure what she was doing. She only knew she couldn't sit at home anymore, watching her husband's life happen without her. The red carpet came into view, bright with lights and camera flashes. Amara could see Evan near the step and repeat backdrop, posing for photos with the movie's director. He looked happy and confident and completely at home in the spotlight. A security guard stood at the entrance to the press area, checking names against a clipboard. "Excuse me," Amara said when she reached him. "I'm on the list." The guard, a middle-aged man with kind eyes, looked down at his clipboard, then back at her. "Name?" "Amara Lewis Cole." He flipped through several pages, frowning. "I don't see." "Oh, wait." His finger stopped on a line near the bottom of the last page. "Here you are. You're good to go, Mrs. Cole." Mrs. Cole. The name felt strange and wonderful on a stranger's lips. Amara stepped onto the red carpet, Just as Evan finished his interview with Entertainment Tonight, the cameras were starting to turn, looking for the next celebrity to capture. And then Evan saw her. Their eyes met across the 30 feet of red carpet between them, and the world seemed to stop. His practiced smile faltered for just a moment, replaced by something raw and real. Surprise, joy, fear, love. All of it flickered across his face in the space of a heartbeat before the cameras found her and the shouting began. The cameras swung toward Amara like hungry animals catching a scent. Flashes exploded in rapid bursts, temporarily blinding her as reporters started shouting questions. Evan, who's your date tonight? Is this your mystery girlfriend? How long have you been together? Riley appeared at Evan's elbow like a shadow, her face tight with panic. She leaned in close to whisper something urgent in his ear, her hand gripping his arm. But Evan wasn't listening. His eyes were locked on Amara, and for a moment, the careful mask he'd been wearing all evening slipped away completely. This was the man who read bedtime stories and made pancakes on Saturday mornings and slow danced with her in their kitchen. This was her husband. Evan stepped off his mark on the carpet, ignoring Riley's sharp intake of breath. He walked toward Amara with steady, purposeful steps, his polished dress shoes clicking against the red fabric. "Hey, beautiful," he said softly when he reached her, his voice barely audible over the chaos around them. "Hey yourself," she replied, her heart hammering against her ribs. He took her hand, warm, familiar, strong, and lifted it to his lips, pressing a gentle kiss to her knuckles. The gesture was so natural, so tender, that the shouting reporters actually quieted for a moment. "You came," he said, and she could hear the wonder in his voice. "I got tired of watching from home." An older female reporter with silver hair stepped forward, her microphone extended but her voice respectful. "Can you tell us who this lovely woman is, Evan?" Evan looked at Amara, a silent question in his eyes. She squeezed his hand and nodded. "This is my wife, Amara," he said, and the words rang out clear and proud across the carpet. "The most important person in my world." The cameras went crazy. Flashes popped like fireworks. But somehow, in the middle of all that chaos, Amara felt more peaceful than she had in months. They posed for a few pictures, Evan's arm around her waist, both of them smiling naturally. Not the practiced Hollywood smiles, but real ones, the kind that came from being exactly where they belonged. "How long have you been married?" another reporter called out. 3 years, Amara answered before Evan could speak. "Best 3 years of my life." "Any children?" Evan's smile widened. "2. Maya's 5, and Theo just turned 3. They're the lights of our lives, but they're asleep at home where children should be." The reporters laughed at that, charmed by his obvious devotion to his kids. Even some of the photographers lowered their cameras, smiling. After a few more questions, Evan guided Amara toward the theater entrance. She could feel Riley's disapproving stare burning into her back, but she didn't care. For the first time in years, she felt like she belonged beside her husband. "That wasn't so bad," she murmured as they walked. "You were perfect," Evan said, squeezing her hand. "I should have done this years ago." Inside the theater lobby, the energy shifted. Industry people mingled with champagne glasses, their conversations punctuated by air kisses and carefully measured laughter. This was Evan's world, polished and performance-driven, where every smile served a purpose. Riley cornered them near the bar, her face pale with stress. "We need to talk," she said tightly. "Both of you." They followed her to a quiet corner behind a pillar, away from the crowd. Riley pulled out her phone, showing them a flood of notifications. "My phone hasn't stopped ringing," she said. "The studio wants to know what's happening. Entertainment Weekly is asking for an exclusive. People magazine is offering 6 figures for wedding photos. So this is good news," Amara said carefully. Riley's laugh was sharp. "Good news? Evan's been positioned as the fantasy boyfriend for 3 years. Do you know how much money that image is worth? How many magazine covers? How many endorsement deals?" "I'm married," Evan said, his voice steady but firm. "I have children. Those aren't secrets I want to keep anymore." "Think about Maya and Theo," Riley pressed. "Do you want them growing up in the spotlight? Having paparazzi follow them to school?" Before Evan could answer, someone touched Amara's shoulder. She turned to see Lena Wild, Evan's co-star, looking stunning in a silver gown that probably cost more than Amara's car. "You must be Amara," Lena said with a warm smile. "I've heard so much about you." "You have?" Amara was surprised. She'd assumed Evan kept his family completely separate from work. "Are you kidding? He talks about you and the kids constantly." It's actually kind of annoying how much he loves you guys." Lena's laugh was genuine, without any of the artifice Amara expected from a Hollywood actress. "Those rumors about us? Complete garbage. He's never looked at anyone but you." Relief flooded through Amara's chest. She'd believed Evan when he told her the rumors weren't true, but hearing it from Lena herself felt like a gift. "Thank you for saying that," Amara said quietly. "The tabloids love to create drama where none exists," Lena continued. "Evan's one of the good guys. You're lucky to have him." "I know I am." The lights dimmed, signaling that it was time to take their seats for the movie screening. Evan led Amara into the theater, his hand never leaving hers. As they settled into their red velvet seats, Evan leaned over to whisper in her ear, "No matter what happens after tonight, I'm glad you're here." "Me too," she whispered back. The movie began, and for the next 2 hours, Amara watched her husband's face fill a 40-foot screen. He was talented, she'd always known that, but seeing his work like this, surrounded by industry professionals who respected his craft, made her proud in a way that surprised her. When the credits rolled, the audience erupted in applause. People stood, turning to congratulate Evan and the other filmmakers. Amara clapped until her hands hurt, her heart full of pride for the man she'd married. But as they made their way out of the theater, she could feel the weight of stares and whispered conversations. Everyone was looking at them now, trying to figure out who she was and what her presence meant. In the lobby, Evan pulled out his phone and snapped a picture of their joined hands. Amara's simple gold wedding band caught the light next to his matching one. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Telling the world," he said, typing quickly. "My home," he wrote as the caption, then hit post. Immediately, his phone started buzzing with notifications. Comments, likes, shares, all pouring in faster than either of them could read. "No going back now," Amara said softly. "Good," Evan replied, sliding his phone into his pocket. "I don't want to go back." The ride home was quiet, both of them processing what had just happened. They'd crossed a line tonight, stepped out of the shadows and into the light. There would be consequences, good and bad, but Amara felt more connected to her husband than she had in months. When they pulled into their driveway, Carla was sitting on their front porch, a knowing smile on her face. "Kids never woke up," she reported as they walked up the path. "But my phone's been blowing up with pictures of you two. About time you let the world see how beautiful you are together." "Thank you," Amara said, hugging the older woman. "For everything. Anytime, honey. Now go check those babies and get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be interesting." Inside, Amara kicked off her heels and followed Evan upstairs. They stood in Maya's doorway for a moment, watching their daughter sleep with one arm wrapped around her favorite stuffed elephant. Then they checked on Theo, who was curled up like a little shrimp, his thumb in his mouth even though they'd been trying to break that habit for months. "They're perfect," Evan whispered, adjusting Theo's blanket. "They are," Amara agreed. "And they're ours." In their own bedroom, they changed out of their formal clothes in comfortable silence. Amara hung up the black dress carefully, knowing she'd always remember this night when she looked at it. As they settled into bed, Evan's phone lit up with another notification, then another. The story of their public debut was spreading across social media like wildfire. "Should we look?" Amara asked. Evan turned the phone face down on his nightstand. "Tomorrow? Tonight? It's just us." He reached for her hand under the covers, threading their fingers together the same way he had on the red carpet. "I love you," he said into the darkness. "I love you too," she replied. "All of you. The movie star and the man who makes pancakes. They're the same person," Evan said quietly. "I'm tired of pretending they're not." Amara squeezed his hand. Outside, Los Angeles hummed with its endless energy, but their house was quiet and peaceful, safe. They'd stepped into the light tonight. Tomorrow, they'd find out what that meant. But for now, they were just a husband and wife, holding hands in the dark, no longer hiding from the world. The next morning came too early, announced by Maya jumping on their bed at 7 sharp. "Mommy, Daddy, there are people with cameras outside." Amara sat up quickly, her heart immediately racing. Through their bedroom window, she could see several photographers gathered on the sidewalk across the street, their long lenses pointed toward their house. Evan groaned and reached for his phone. The screen showed 43 missed calls from Riley, dozens of text messages, and hundreds of social media notifications. "It's starting," he said grimly. "What's starting?" Maya asked, bouncing between them. "Why are those people taking pictures of our house?" "It's nothing to worry about, sweetheart," Amara said, smoothing her daughter's hair. Just some people who are interested in Daddy's movie. Theo appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes and dragging his stuffed dinosaur behind him. I'm hungry, he announced, as if photographers on their street were perfectly normal. Let's go make breakfast, Evan said, scooping up both kids. But first, we need to close the curtains downstairs. They spent the morning in their kitchen, curtains drawn, trying to maintain some sense of normalcy while the world outside buzzed with interest in their family. Evan made his famous Mickey Mouse pancakes while Amara read the early online coverage on her laptop. Most of it was positive. Entertainment Tonight had posted a sweet video compilation of their red carpet moments with the headline, "Evan Cole's surprise wife steals the show." People magazine's website featured a photo of them holding hands, with the caption, "Hollywood's hottest secret, romance revealed." But there were negative comments too. Users questioning why Evan had hidden his family, others making ugly assumptions about their relationship. The usual internet cruelty that came with any public attention. "Don't read the comments," Evan said, noticing her frown. "I'm not," she lied. A knock at the front door made them all freeze. Through the window, Amara could see a woman in her expensive pantsuit standing on their porch, clearly not a photographer. "That's Grace," Evan said quietly. "His mother." "I should have called her." Grace Cole was a formidable woman who'd raised Evan alone after his father left when he was 12. She'd sacrificed everything to support his early acting classes and auditions, and she was fiercely protective of the career she'd helped build. She was also the reason they'd waited so long to go public. Not because Grace didn't like Amara, she did, genuinely, but she worried about the industry's reaction, about the effect on Evan's opportunities, about the safety of her grandchildren in the spotlight. Evan opened the front door while Amara kept the kids in the kitchen. "Hi, Mom." "Evan James Cole." Grace's voice carried the tone that had terrified him as a teenager. "What were you thinking?" "I was thinking it was time to stop hiding my family." Grace stepped inside, carrying a box of muffins from the bakery down the street. Despite her stern expression, she never showed up anywhere empty-handed. "Those photographers followed me here from the grocery store," she said. "They wanted to know how I felt about my son's secret wife." "What did you tell them?" "That they should mind their own business." Grace set down the muffins and looked toward the kitchen, where Maya and Theo were arguing over syrup distribution. "But this affects the children now, Evan. Are you ready for that?" Before he could answer, Amara appeared with both kids in tow. Maya ran straight to her grandmother, wrapping her arms around Grace's waist. "Grandma, did you see the camera people? Daddy says they want to take pictures because of his movie." "I did see them, sweetheart." Grace hugged Maya tightly, her expression softening. "Are you okay? Are they scaring you?" "Nope. Mommy says they're just curious." Grace looked at Amara with something like respect. Even in crisis, Amara kept the children calm and protected. "Can I speak with you privately?" Grace asked Amara. They stepped out onto the back patio while Evan distracted the kids with cartoons. The morning air was crisp, carrying the scent of jasmine from their neighbor's yard. "I'm not angry about last night," Grace said carefully. "I understand why you did it." "Do you?" A woman can only be invisible for so long. Grace's voice was gentle but honest. "I was married to a man who wanted me hidden too. Different reasons, but the same feeling." Amara hadn't known that about Evan's father. It explained some things about why Grace was so protective of appearances. "I don't want to hurt Evan's career," Amara said, "but I can't keep pretending we don't exist." "I know. And maybe I was wrong to encourage the hiding." Grace was quiet for a moment, watching a hummingbird dart between the flowers. "I see how happy he is with you, how good a father he is. Maybe that's more important than protecting some fantasy version of him." They rejoined Evan and the kids in the kitchen, where Theo was attempting to feed Mickey Mouse pancakes to his stuffed dinosaur. "We need to get ahead of this story," Grace said to Evan. "Control the narrative before someone else does." Evan's phone rang. Riley, calling for the 20th time that morning. "I should take this," he said, stepping into the living room. Through the thin walls, they could hear his half of the conversation. "Yes, I understand the concerns. No, I'm not going to hide her again. We'll figure it out, but my family comes first." When he returned, his face was grim. "Riley wants to set up interviews," he said. "Controlled settings, approved questions. Start shifting the narrative slowly." "What kind of interviews?" Amara asked. "The safe kind. About our love story, how we met, how normal and boring we are." Evan's smile was rueful. "Hollywood loves a good romance. especially one with a happy ending. Grace was nodding approvingly. That's smart. Show them the real story before someone invents a fake one. Amara felt overwhelmed. She'd wanted to stop hiding, but she hadn't fully considered what stepping into the light would actually mean. Interviews, photo shoots, having their relationship packaged and sold as entertainment. What if I'm terrible at it? She asked quietly. What if I say the wrong thing? Evan crossed the room and took her hands in his. You were perfect last night. Just be yourself. That's all we need. A crash from the living room interrupted them. Maya had knocked over a lamp while trying to peek through the curtains at the photographers. Sorry, she called out, as Theo started crying because the noise scared him. Grace sighed. This is exactly what I was worried about. The children shouldn't have to live like prisoners in their own home. Amara picked up Theo, bouncing him gently until his tears stopped. We'll figure it out. We have to. The rest of the morning was spent fielding phone calls and making plans. Riley scheduled a photo shoot with a family-friendly magazine for the following week. They'd tell their story their way, on their terms. But as Amara watched her children play in a house with drawn curtains while strangers waited outside with cameras, she wondered if they'd made the right choice. Love in the open was harder than she'd imagined, but it was still better than love in the shadows. By Wednesday, the photographers had mostly disappeared from their street, but the internet hadn't forgotten. Evan's Instagram post of their joined hands had over 2 million likes and counting. The comments ranged from sweet congratulations to harsh criticisms about why he'd hidden his family for so long. Amara tried not to read them, but it was like trying not to look at a car accident. Finally, they looked so happy together, sat next to "Why marry outside your race?" and "Gold digger alert." Each cruel comment felt like a small cut, but the kind words from strangers helped heal them. People sharing their own mixed-race love stories, fans saying they were inspired by Evan's honesty, parents thanking them for showing their children what real love looked like. The magazine wants to do the interview this afternoon, Riley announced during their morning conference call. At the house, very casual, family-focused. What kind of questions? Amara asked, bouncing Theo on her lap, while Maya colored at the kitchen table. Your love story, what it's like being married to an actor, how you balance family and career. Nothing invasive about the children, just general family life. Evan reached across the table and squeezed Amara's free hand. We don't have to do anything you're not comfortable with. I want to do it, she said, surprising herself with how sure she sounded. But I want to be honest, real honest, not Hollywood honest. Riley's pause was telling. What do you mean by that? I mean, I'm not going to pretend the last 3 years were easy. I'm not going to say I loved being hidden. Amara, Evan started, but she held up her hand. I'm not trying to make you look bad, she told him, but I won't lie about how it felt either. If we're doing this, we're doing it truthfully. The interviewer, Sarah Chen from Modern Family magazine, arrived that afternoon with a photographer and a warm smile. She was younger than Amara expected, maybe early 30s, with kind eyes and an easy laugh. Your home is beautiful, Sarah said as Amara led her through the living room. So lived in and comfortable. Thank you. We wanted somewhere the kids could actually be kids, you know, somewhere normal. They settled on the back patio while the photographer set up his equipment. Maya and Theo played in the sandbox Evan had built last summer, their laughter mixing with the sound of wind chimes. So tell me how you two met, Sarah began, her recorder placed between them on the small table. Amara glanced at Evan, who nodded encouragingly. I was styling for his first magazine cover, she said. This was 4 years ago, before he was Evan Cole, you know? He was just this sweet guy who was nervous about the photo shoot. I kept asking if the clothes looked okay, Evan added, with a self-deprecating laugh. She must have thought I was the most insecure actor in Hollywood. I thought you were refreshingly normal, Amara corrected. Most actors I worked with barely acknowledged I existed. But Evan asked about my life, my dreams. We talked about books between outfit changes. What was your first date like? Coffee, they said in unison, then laughed. This tiny place in Silver Lake, Evan continued. No cameras, no industry people. Just us talking for 3 hours about everything except movies. Sarah was scribbling notes, clearly charmed by their easy interaction. When did you know it was serious? Amara felt herself smile at the memory. When he met my parents, he was so nervous he brought flowers for my mom and my dad. Dad still teases him about it. And when did marriage come up? About a year in, Evan said. We were walking on the beach in Santa Barbara, and Amara was talking about this house she'd seen online. She was describing it so vividly, the kitchen where she'd make Sunday dinners, the backyard where our kids would play someday. I realized I could see it all too, exactly the way she described it. He proposed 3 months later, Amara added. Same beach, sunset, very romantic. But you kept the relationship private from the beginning? The easy mood shifted slightly. This was the hard part. My publicist advised it, Evan said carefully. The industry can be complicated about personal relationships, especially when you're trying to establish yourself. How did that feel for you, Amara? Amara took a deep breath. Honestly, it was hard. I understood the reasoning, but watching the man you love live a public life that doesn't include you, it hurts. Even when you know it's just business. Sarah nodded sympathetically. What changed? Why go public now? I got tired, Amara said simply. Tired of hiding, tired of feeling like a secret, tired of my children having a father they couldn't talk about at school. And Evan, he was tired too. I was living 2 different lives, Evan admitted. The public one where I was this eligible bachelor, and the real one where I'm a husband and father. The real one is so much better. But I was too scared to show it. Scared of what? Evan considered this carefully. Scared that people would reject the real me. Scared that being married and being a father would somehow make me less appealing as an actor. Scared that the industry would punish my family for my choices. And now? Now I realize that anyone who would reject me for having a family isn't someone I want to work with anyway, Evan said firmly. My wife and children are the best parts of me. Why would I hide that? The photographer had been quietly taking pictures throughout the conversation, candid shots of them talking, laughing, Evan pushing Maya on the swing set, while Amara held Theo. Can we get a few posed shots? The photographer asked. Just simple family portraits. They spent 20 minutes taking pictures on their back porch, in their living room, around their kitchen table. Nothing fancy or staged, just a family being themselves in their own home. These are going to be beautiful, Sarah said as they wrapped up. You can really see how much you love each other. It's not hard to see, Amara said, watching Evan help Theo build a tower with blocks. It's been there all along. We just finally stopped hiding it. After the magazine team left, they ordered pizza and had a quiet family dinner. The kids were tired from all the excitement, and they went to bed early without their usual protests. Evan and Amara sat on their couch, finally able to relax for the first time in days. That went well, Evan said, pulling her feet into his lap. It did. Sarah was really nice. Not what I expected. What did you expect? I don't know. Someone more. Invasive? Someone who wanted to dig up drama that wasn't there. Evan's phone buzzed with a text from Riley. Great job today. Early reactions very positive. This is exactly what we needed. Riley's happy, he reported. Good. I want this to work, Ev. Not just for your career, but for us. For the kids. It will work. We're not doing anything wrong. We're just being ourselves. Amara curled up against his side, feeling more settled than she had in months. I like being ourselves. Me too. They were quiet for a while, just enjoying the peace of their house after the chaos of the past few days. Outside, their neighborhood was quiet and normal. No photographers, no reporters, just the sound of evening settling in. Do you think the kids understand what's happening? Amara asked. Maya does. A little. She asked me this morning if she was going to be famous now. What did you tell her? That she's already famous in our house, and that's the only place it matters. Amara smiled against his chest. Good answer. I learned from the best. Thursday morning brought new challenges. Maya's preschool called to let them know there had been photographers outside the building, and they wanted to discuss pickup procedures. Theo's daycare had a similar conversation with Amara. We're not trying to make this difficult, the preschool director assured Amara over the phone. We just want to make sure Maya feels safe and normal here. I appreciate that. What do you suggest? Maybe pick up through the back entrance for a few weeks? Just until the interest dies down? It was a small thing, but it highlighted how their decision affected more than just their family. Their children's schools, their neighbors, the quiet life they'd built, everything was touched by their newfound visibility. That afternoon, while the kids napped, Amara's sister Nia called from Oakland. Girl, you broke the internet, Nia said without preamble. Mom's been showing your pictures to everyone at her book club. She's so proud. Really? Amara had been worried about how her family would react to all the attention. Are you kidding? Her daughter's married to a movie star and she finally gets to brag about it. She's in heaven. I'm glad someone's enjoying this. How are you handling it? Really? Amara looked out the window at their backyard, where Evan's reading chair sat under the oak tree. Soon, he'd be out there with the kids, reading stories before dinner. It's scary, she admitted, but it's also freeing. Like I can finally breathe all the way. Good. You were suffocating in all that secrecy, even if you wouldn't admit it. Was it that obvious? To me? Yes. You love that man, but you were starting to lose yourself trying to be invisible for him. Naya was right. Somewhere along the way, Amara had started making herself smaller to fit into Evan's complicated life, not because he asked her to, but because it seemed easier than fighting for space in a world that wasn't sure it wanted her. I'm not being invisible anymore, she said firmly. Good. The world needs to see what real love looks like. That evening, Evan came home with flowers, not expensive roses, but the mixed bouquet from the grocery store that Amara actually preferred. Simple, colorful, real. What's the occasion? She asked, accepting his kiss along with the flowers. Do I need an occasion to bring my wife flowers? No, but you usually do. Tonight the occasion is that I love you, and I'm not hiding it anymore. Maya ran into the kitchen, drawn by the sound of their laughter. Daddy brought Mummy flowers, she announced to Theo, who was trailing behind her dragging his stuffed elephant. That's because Daddy loves Mommy, Evan said, scooping up both kids. Just like Mommy and Daddy love you too. Are we famous now? Maya asked, the same question she'd been asking all week. We're the same family we've always been, Amara said, arranging the flowers in a vase. Some people just know about us now, like when Tommy's dad was on the news for coaching baseball. Exactly like that. Maya seemed satisfied with this explanation. In her 5-year-old world, being on TV wasn't magical or scary, it was just something that sometimes happened to regular people. If only it were that simple for adults. That night, after the kids were in bed, Evan pulled out his laptop to show Amara something. Look at this, he said, pointing to a video that had appeared on YouTube. Someone made this. The video was a compilation of their red carpet moments, set to soft music, interspersed with paparazzi photos of Evan from previous events where he'd walked alone. The creator had titled it, Love Finally in the Light, and the comments were overwhelmingly positive. This made me cry. You can see how much happier he is with her. Finally, I always wondered why he seemed so lonely at events. Their love is real. You can't fake that chemistry. People can see it, Amara said softly, watching Evan's face light up in the video when he spotted her on the carpet. See what? How much you love us. How much happier you are when you don't have to pretend. Evan closed the laptop and pulled her into his arms. I am happier, the happiest I've ever been, even with all the complications, especially with all the complications, because now there are complications, not just mine. Amara settled against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, strong and steady, like the man himself. I love you, she said. I love you too, all of you, right out loud, for everyone to see. Outside their bedroom window, Los Angeles sparkled with its endless lights. Somewhere in that sprawling city, people were talking about them, judging them, rooting for them. But here, in their quiet house with their sleeping children down the hall, they were just a husband and wife who had finally stopped hiding from the world. It felt like the beginning of their real life together. Friday morning arrived with an unexpected crisis. Evan's phone rang at 6:30, jolting them both awake. Don't answer it, Amara mumbled into her pillow, but Evan was already reaching for the phone. Riley? What's wrong? Even from her side of the bed, Amara could hear the panic in Riley's voice through the speaker. There's a story dropping at noon, Riley said, her words coming fast. Some gossip blog got hold of old text messages between you and Lena. They're making it look like you two were having an affair during filming. Evan sat up straighter. That's impossible. We never. I know that. You know that. But they're taking things completely out of context. Group text jokes, behind-the-scenes photos, that time you drove her home when her car broke down. They're spinning it as a secret romance. Amara's stomach dropped. She'd been waiting for something like this, the price of stepping into the light. How bad is it? Evan asked. Bad enough. They're calling it Hollywood's most devastating love triangle and implying that Amara was the other woman who broke up your relationship with Lena. But there was no relationship with Lena. Try explaining that to the internet. Amara got out of bed and started getting dressed. Down the hall, she could hear Maya singing to herself in her room, innocent of the storm that was about to break over their family. "What do we do?" Evan asked. "Damage control. Lena's already agreed to make a statement. I'm drafting a response from you. We need to get ahead of this before it spirals." After Riley hung up, Evan turned to Amara with anguished eyes. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This is exactly what I was afraid would happen." "Hey!" Amara sat on the edge of the bed and took his face in her hands. "Look at me. I know you. I know your heart. Some gossip blog doesn't get to define our marriage, but what if people believe it? What if this hurts you and the kids? Then we'll handle it, together." But as the morning wore on, Amara's confidence wavered. She made breakfast while Evan fielded calls from his agent, his manager, and 3 different publicists. The kids sensed the tension and became clingy, Maya asking repeatedly if everything was okay. At 11:50, Riley texted a link to the story. Amara read it on her phone while Evan was in the shower. The headline made her sick. "Evan Cole's secret affair exposed. How he chose his stylist over his leading lady." The article was a masterpiece of manipulation. They'd taken innocent group text messages and presented them as flirtatious exchanges. A photo of Evan giving Lena his jacket during a cold night shoot was captioned as "intimate moments away from prying eyes." Even worse, they'd found old photos of Amara on set during their early relationship and were now claiming she'd been stealing Evan away from his co-star girlfriend. Every word was technically legal, no outright lies, just implications twisted until the truth became unrecognizable. "How's it look?" Evan asked, coming into the kitchen with wet hair and worry lines around his eyes. "Like they took our love story and turned it into a soap opera." Evan's mother called 5 minutes later. "The children," was the first thing Grace said. "What about Maya and Theo? Their friends' parents will see this. Their teachers." "Mom, none of it's true. I know it's not true, but people love drama more than they love truth. You need to think about protecting those babies." Amara watched Theo stack blocks on the living room carpet, completely absorbed in his game. He had no idea that strangers were discussing his parents' marriage, making up stories about his family. "Maybe I should take them to my sisters for a few days," she said quietly, "until this blows over." Evan's face crumpled. "This isn't what I wanted. I never wanted our family to be torn apart by lies." "We're not being torn apart," Amara said firmly. "I just think some space might be good for all of us while you and Riley figure out how to handle this." It broke her heart to say it, but she could already see how this would go. The story would spread across social media, get picked up by bigger outlets, follow them for weeks or months. Every time they left the house, reporters would ask about the affair and the love triangle. She couldn't put the children through that. By 1 o'clock, Amara had packed bags for herself and the kids. Theo didn't understand why they were leaving, but Maya seemed to sense the seriousness of the situation. "Are you and Daddy fighting?" Maya asked as Amara buckled her into her car seat. "No, sweetheart. Daddy and I love each other very much. We just need to give him some space to handle some grown-up work stuff. Will we come back?" "Of course we'll come back. This is our home." Evan stood in the driveway, looking lost. This wasn't how any of them had imagined this week going. "I'll fix this," he promised, kissing each of them goodbye. "I'll make it right." "I know you will," Amara said, though her heart was breaking as she drove away from their house. Naya's apartment in Oakland was small but welcoming. She'd cleared out her home office so the kids could have a place to sleep, and she'd stocked the kitchen with their favorite snacks. "You okay?" Nia asked that evening, after Maya and Theo had been put to bed in sleeping bags on air mattresses, treating the whole thing like an adventure. "I keep telling myself it's just gossip," Amara said, curled up on Nia's couch with a cup of tea. "But it feels like they took something beautiful and made it ugly. The people who matter know the truth. Do they? What if everyone starts thinking I'm some home-wrecking gold digger? What if that's how Maya and Theo's friends see their mom?" Nia sat down beside her sister. "Anyone who knows you knows better, and anyone who doesn't know you, their opinion doesn't matter." Back in Los Angeles, Evan was fighting for his family's reputation. He'd spent the afternoon pulling together evidence, full text message threads, call logs, witness statements from crew members, everything to prove that his relationship with Lena had never been anything more than professional friendship. Lena had been incredibly gracious, releasing a statement that called the affair rumors completely false, and praising Amara as one of the most genuine, loving people I know. She even posted a photo on Instagram of herself with her actual boyfriend, a musician named Jake she'd been dating for 2 years. But the internet loved drama more than truth. For every supportive comment, there were 3 more spreading the gossip or inventing new conspiracy theories. Saturday passed in a blur of damage control. Sunday was worse. By Monday morning, Evan had made a decision that surprised everyone, including Riley. "I'm turning down the Bachelor campaign," he told her over the phone. "What campaign?" "The one that came in last week. The luxury watch company. They want me to be the face of their eligible bachelor line. I'm saying no." "Evan, that's a 7-figure deal." "I don't care. I'm not a bachelor. I'm a married father of 2, and I'm tired of pretending otherwise for money." Riley was quiet for a long moment. "Are you sure about this?" "I've never been more sure of anything." That afternoon, Evan drove to Oakland. He found Amara at a playground near Naya's apartment, pushing Theo on a swing while Maya climbed on the monkey bars. "Daddy!" Both kids screamed when they saw him, running over like he'd been gone for months instead of 3 days. He scooped them both up, holding them tight. "I missed you guys so much." "Did you fix the grown-up work stuff?" Maya asked. "I'm working on it. But I wanted to talk to Mummy about something important." Amara walked over slowly, her face guarded. She looked tired, like she hadn't been sleeping well. "How are you holding up?" he asked. "I'm fine. The kids are fine. Naya's been great." "I turned down the watch campaign," he said without preamble. "What watch campaign?" "The one where they wanted me to be their bachelor spokesperson. I told them I'm not available for bachelor campaigns because I'm not a bachelor." Amara's eyes softened slightly. "Evan, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. I'm done making money off of being single when I'm married to the most amazing woman in the world." He paused, looking at their children playing nearby. "I'm done choosing image over truth." "What does Riley think?" "Riley thinks I'm making a mistake, but I think hiding you was the mistake. Everything that's happened this week, it's because I spent 3 years being dishonest about who I am." Amara was quiet for a moment, watching Theo attempt to climb the slide backward. "The story's going to follow us for a while," she said finally. "Even if you prove it's not true, some people will always wonder. Let them wonder. The people who matter know the truth. And the people who don't matter?" Evan stepped closer, taking her hands in his. "Their opinions don't get a vote in our marriage." That evening, they drove back to Los Angeles together. As they pulled into their driveway, Amara felt a sense of coming home that had nothing to do with the house and everything to do with the family inside the car. Tuesday morning brought better news. Several major entertainment outlets had picked up Lena's statement, and a few had done their own fact-checking that thoroughly debunked the affair rumors. The original gossip blog was facing criticism for their sloppy journalism. "It's not going away completely," Riley warned during their morning call. "But the worst of it seems to be over." "Good," Evan said, "because we're moving forward with the family profile anyway. Even after this mess? Especially after this mess, I want people to see who we really are." The magazine profile came out 3 weeks later. The photos were beautiful, their family at home, natural and happy. Amara's favorite was a candid shot of Evan reading to both kids on their back porch, golden hour light, making everything look warm and peaceful. The article was honest too. They talked about the challenges of balancing privacy with publicity, about learning to protect their children while being authentic about their love. Amara spoke openly about how difficult the hiding had been, while Evan took full responsibility for the years of secrecy. "Love shouldn't be a marketing strategy," he'd told the interviewer. "My wife and children aren't props or image problems to be managed. They're my life, and I'm proud of that life." The response was overwhelmingly positive. Fans praised Evan's honesty and Amara's grace. Other celebrity couples started speaking more openly about their own families. Most importantly, the gossip died down. New stories took over the tabloid cycle, and gradually their life returned to something approaching normal. 6 months later, Amara stood in their kitchen on a Tuesday morning, watching Evan tie Maya's shoes while Theo demanded the green spoon. The scene was almost identical to that first morning, but everything was different. Evan's phone buzzed with a text from Riley, but this time it was just his schedule for the day. No warnings about walking solo, no instructions to hide his family. "Premiere tonight," Amara said, reading over his shoulder. "You coming with me?" he asked, looking up from Maya's sneakers. "Try to stop me." That evening, they walked the red carpet together, hand in hand. Evan wore a classic black tuxedo, Amara a navy blue dress that photographed beautifully. The cameras loved them not as a scandal or a secret, but as exactly what they were, a couple in love. "Any regrets about going public?" a reporter asked. Evan looked at Amara, then back at the cameras. "Only that we waited so long." Later, at the after-party, they danced to a slow song while industry colleagues and friends watched approvingly. Grace sat at a nearby table, beaming with pride, as she watched her son and daughter-in-law move together with the easy rhythm of two people who'd stopped hiding from the world. "What are you thinking about?" Amara asked as they swayed to the music. "How this is exactly what I imagined when I proposed to you," Evan said. "You, me, together in front of everyone who matters. It only took us 3 years to get here. Better late than never." When they got home that night, they checked on the kids, both sleeping peacefully, then settled on their couch with cups of tea. Evan's latest premiere had been a success, but more importantly, they'd attended it as the family they were, not as the characters Riley had once thought they needed to play. "No more hiding," Evan said, echoing the promise he'd made months ago. "No more fear," Amara replied, echoing her own. Outside their window, Los Angeles glittered with its endless ambition and dreams, but inside their house, everything was quiet and real, and theirs. They'd learned that love in the light was sometimes harder than love in the shadows. It required more courage, more honesty, more willingness to be vulnerable in front of strangers. But it was also infinitely more beautiful. As they headed upstairs to bed, Amara paused at the mantel where they'd placed a framed photo from that first red carpet appearance, their hands intertwined, wedding rings catching the camera flash. In the background, you could see the crowd of photographers and reporters, but in the foreground, it was just them, just love, finally free to exist in the open. "Ready for bed, Mrs. Cole?" Evan asked, using the name that had once only been whispered in private. "Ready, Mr. Cole," she replied, and they turned off the lights on another day of their life together, no longer hidden, no longer afraid, no longer anything but exactly who they were meant to be. In their bedroom, as they settled under the covers, Evan reached for Amara's hand one more time. It was a gesture as natural as breathing now, as public as it was private. "I love you," he said into the darkness. "I love you too," she whispered back. "All of you, for all the world to see." And in the morning, they would wake up and make breakfast and tie small shoes and pack lunchboxes and live their beautiful, ordinary, no longer secret life exactly as they chose to live it, together, in the light, where love was meant to be.